Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next edition of 90 Stories for 90 Years. My name is Mary Osborne, and I serve as the coordinator for Fraternity and Sorority Life in the Office of Student Involvement. I have Grace and Debbi Ryan here with me today to talk a little bit about the impact that the DePaul Fraternity and Sorority community has had really on their family life. We have some family lineage in the community here, and we're really excited to have them with us today. So Grace and Debbi, welcome. Thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Well, we'll go ahead and get started and by you all just telling us a little bit about yourselves. So, your degrees, where you're living, what are you doing post-college, all that kind of fun stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm Debbi Ryan, and I'm Grace's mom. And I graduated from DePaul with a bachelor's of science in marketing back in 1992. And since then, I've gone on to graduate school too. I have my master's in education. I worked in the business world for a little bit, but then decided to teach when I had Grace and her sister Kaylee. So I taught for about 16 years, and now I'm going back again and utilizing that DePaul business degree, and I'm selling curriculum to teachers now in the educational field. And we're in Bartlett. We moved to Bartlett after we got married, my husband and I, who's also a DePaul graduate. He was in the College of Commerce also. And we've lived in Bartlett ever since then, since we got married. And yeah, Grace, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Grace. I'm a current student. I'm a sophomore. I'm studying vocal performance and music education in the School of Music, and I'm a member of Delta Zeta.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for joining us. We'll kick it off with a question about why you chose to go to DePaul. So both of you all can answer this, and whoever wants to go first. But why did you pick Blue Demon Life?
Okay. So for me, I think it was truly just being near the city. And we've always been people who enjoy going down to Chicago for shopping, entertainment, everything. We've just always loved it. It's always been our favorite place to go. So I think being in the city was a big draw for myself. And then just the proximity. I was raised in the western suburbs, so the proximity to home, it wasn't too far away. I was away from home, but not too far. So I had a little bit of that security blanket. And just being in the heart of the city, I just wanted to be around the life that I had been used to for all these years growing up. So, and all the great shopping and restaurants and food and everything. And my mom went to DePaul. So that was a little bit of a reason why too I decided to go there. So heard all the great stories from her.
That's so awesome. So we have 3 generations of DePaul grads in the family. That's so cool.
Truly.
Yeah, Grace, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, even before I started looking for colleges, DePaul was just kind of in the back of my mind because everyone in my family had gone there. But then once I realized that I wanted to study music, I found out about how amazing the programs were at the School of Music here at DePaul. And also being in the city while studying performance was a huge draw for me because I get to really study firsthand, going to see shows, pre-COVID. So I think that was the biggest thing. I knew that if I was accepted into the music school, I wanted to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be such a cool and unique way to experience your degree field, being in such a large city with so many opportunities. That's such a cool connection to the city too. And I can't say I blame either one of you all for wanting to be in the city life. That's definitely one of the things that drew me to Chicago as well. I'm super excited to be here for that reason too. Well, tell me a little bit about what your favorite memory from being a member of your organization has been. Grace, we'll start with you this time. I know that you mentioned that you're newer to the Fraternity and Sorority Life, and a lot of that has been during our virtual experience, but maybe if you have anything during that time or beforehand that you want to share, favorite memory.
Yeah, I went through recruitment fall of my freshman year, so last year. And I'd say my favorite memory was my first semi-formal because it was my first big event, being a new member, and we had just been initiated, and it was kind of really the moment where I felt these people were my family, and it was a great night.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Debbi, what about you?
I have a couple of favorite memories. I really enjoyed being on, like, having different positions within the sorority. I really enjoyed being on the executive board when I was pledge mom, we called it back then. So pledge education. That to me was just so much fun. And I think maybe that kind of drove me towards becoming a teacher eventually too. But that was a lot of fun. And then I have very fond memories of all of the formal events we used to have, because ours were always at like the Palmer House and these wonderful, beautiful hotels in the city, and just getting dressed up and going with all your friends for an evening out in one of these beautiful places is just, it was fabulous. I truly enjoyed that.
Yeah. I love that you all both have a similar like favorite memory of the like semi-formal, formal, like social aspects. Was definitely our super fun, and one of probably my favorite memories of college life as well was being able to spend those evenings with my sorority sisters. And I served as a new member educator as well, also for Delta Zeta. Yeah. And it really is like such a rewarding experience, and it's cool that you like kind of a foreshadowing for your future career of like that educational component. Well, and Debbi, Grace mentioned that you met your husband at DePaul, and he was also a fraternity member. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that at all?
All right. Well, I have to tell you, we don't have a grand story about that or anything. I don't know if I ever remember exactly meeting, but back then at DePaul, there were only, I think, 2 or 3 fraternities and 2 or 3 sororities. So the whole Greek community was much smaller. And we just always, everyone just kind of hung out with each other. There were a lot of official, non-official events. So I was telling Grace the other day, I think when we first met, he was actually dating one of my sorority sisters, and we met that way. But then, you know, things just kind of worked out the way they did, just hanging out at these different events, at people's apartments and all. Got to know him that way. So it was kind of a lackluster story, I guess. So,
no, that's definitely a cool story. And what fraternity is he a member of?
Phi Psi.
Okay, shout out to the Phi Psis if you're watching this right now.
They were brand new when we were there too. So when I first joined Delta Zeta and first came to DePaul, they didn't have a presence on campus yet. So they were new while we were there. And my husband Paul actually wasn't there the first year I was there either. He was a transfer student from UBrock in Beloit, Wisconsin. So he came over, and the fraternity started up, and he joined. So yeah, it was kind of neat the way that worked out.
Yeah, that's super fun. We actually recently interviewed a founding member of the Phi Psi chapter here at DePaul. So you may have to go back and watch that interview. Maybe he'll recognize the face.
Oh, we still see some of those guys too. So that would be great.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Grace, what about you? Tell me a little bit about like how you decided to join a sorority, if your mom played a role in that decision at all, or what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I think, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I never thought I'd join a sorority. I pretty much always did. Like, it just felt like something I really wanted to be a part of. I'm a very extroverted person. Like, I've really found like deep connections with like a lot of women in my life. Like, I have an older sister who I'm very close to. And she's also a member of a sorority at her school. So I think I always wanted to, but it was very cool going through the process and like getting to talk to my mom about it, like, because she actually like did that at DePaul as well. So.
Yeah. But that's so different. So a lot of the things we did were just so different in the whole process, and having the Greek community at DePaul be so much larger now, it was, you know, and the organizations themselves are so much larger. So many more members, but you know, it was really neat. Like, I'd listen to her stories, and then I'd say, well, when I was going through Rush, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'd tell her how it was back then. So it's kind of a neat connecting point there.
Yeah. What were some of the differences that you noticed? So you mentioned like chapter size and things like that. Were there any other like big differences that you noticed?
Different positions on like official positions within the sorority. And especially too with like Grace's older sister, there's just so many more positions, probably because there's so many more members. But yeah, a lot of things that way are done differently. The way the organization is run and executive board, that sort of thing. Yeah, and I think their events and all are more structured than ours were. Ours, I think, were a little bit more informal, probably because there wasn't very many of us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and just the pledge class size and different pledge events and all that they went through. And I don't even think you were called pledges, really, were you?
New members.
Okay, yeah.
So
the terminology, the wording, and all a little bit. So kind of see the differences.
That's so neat. Well, has having a daughter or having a mother that's in a sorority, like, has that had an impact on your relationship at all, or what has that looked like for your relationship?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's definitely something that we have in common. So it's something that kind of brings us closer together.
Yeah, and even to expand upon that too, like my mother was a Delta Zeta at DePaul also. So I was a legacy for my mom, and Grace is in a sorority now at DePaul. Grace's godmother, one of my best friends, is her godmother. So, and she was one of my pledge sisters. So yeah, I think it's a great connection for women to have, and just to share in those memories and different experiences. And even if it's a different sorority, it's still, there's so much connection there just from being Panhellenic. And yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I love that you both kind of talk about that female connection, both prior to joining the sorority and how that's like enhanced those relationships with other women after joining the sorority. I think that that's such a powerful part of the sorority experience, and really helping like build relationships between women and kind of seeing the positive impact that has.
Absolutely. And still so many of my sisters that I keep in contact with to this day. And are such a special part of our lives still. And yeah, it's a great way a great bonding instrument.
Oh, for sure. And you even mentioned it, the cross Panhellenic organization relationships too, or even like CrossCouncil organization relationships that you had like build with other women is super awesome. How has that experience been, being members of two different sororities? Have you learned anything from each other in that throughout that experience?
I feel like something else that I really love about like DePaul in general is how strong our Panhellenic community is, and how just like all of the sororities are all so positive and so welcoming and loving of each other. Like, I've been just so excited to be a part of it ever since I joined, because everyone is just like, all of your recruitment counselors just wanted you to like find your home, and it was just such like a judgment-free place. So I really think that's been a really great experience to know that no matter what chapter you're in, you're all a part of the Panhellenic community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note too, it's nice to see still. I remember when I was going through DePaul for Delta Zeta, our philanthropy that we worked with was one that we spent a lot of time nurturing that relationship and doing for that organization and helping and events, raising money for, and that it seems like that has not changed. Like, it sounds like, I know from Grace's experiences, their philanthropy also, they do a lot for, but even when she was going through rush or recruitment, every single sorority that she went to, she would come back and say, and their philanthropy is, and theirs is, and theirs is. So I got to learn about like all these different great organizations that were being served by Panhellenic and that continue to be served. So it's kind of nice to see that continuity throughout the years, that that sororities are still serving others and trying to help others. So that's a great thing.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And Grace, look at you being such a good person going through the recruitment process, remembering all those philanthropies, bragging moments. That's so cool. I love that. I love hearing people talk about like their recruitment experience, and particularly like leaning on the values of organizations. And I think that's like foreshadowing for our final question today. But before we hit that question, Grace, I know you mentioned this just a little bit, but how has it been having both of your parents being members of fraternities and sororities, and also your sister? It sounds like several people. How has that shaped your college experience?
I think it's definitely been nice because I had a lot of advice, I guess, going into the recruitment process. I mean, I wouldn't say I was really nervous, but it was kind of like that excitement nervous. So I had like a lot of people to like look to get advice on that. As well as kind of like I felt a little bit more prepared and like I knew what to expect, and I was just really looking forward to everything. I was very excited to start. Like I went through the recruitment process right away my freshman year. So I'd say that was definitely a big part of it, was just like getting so excited because I'd heard so many wonderful things.
Yeah, I bet that was definitely helpful in easing any of the like nerves or fears around the recruitment process. Because it can be a very intimidating process, but having that like guidance from your parents and, them speaking so highly of their experience, and how cool that it was specifically a DePaul Fraternity and Sorority Life experience. And that's just such an awesome tool, I guess, or resource going into that process. Well, we've been at this for a little while now, so we'll wrap up with our closing question. So we'll start with you, Debbie, but what is your favorite value of Delta Zeta and why?
Okay. You know what? I think I have to go back to that serving others and really taking care of others and working for others, but also the community feel. I know in my experience, we were a smaller chapter and a smaller size than what the organizations are now on the campus, but there was truly no division within the sorority. There weren't like little groups of friends amongst ages or grades or anything. We were all for one and one for all. I mean, we were a pledge class, an organization, a sisterhood, and it was just, no little cliques or anything. It was just a great community feel. Everybody supported everybody. Everybody was there for each other, and everyone just wanted each other to succeed. I remember going into the whole process, and this was way back in the day, so I'm going to date myself. People had talked about hazing, which is nothing anymore. And I was kind of nervous about that too, like pledging and going through that process. But oh my gosh, everyone wanted you to succeed and be a part of the organization. So welcoming, so nurturing, so caring. And then once I was an actual member, just like putting all that out there for the next round of recruitment or recruit pledges. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And then just all being together in that community, serving others for the philanthropy and helping other organizations on campus, doing community projects together. So I think that's truly, that was a big deal for me.
Yeah. Well, and it's so cool that it sounds like that value really carried over into your life post-college, like that idea of serving others. And building educational curriculum and being a teacher is quite the service for so many years. I think that's really cool to see and hear and learn how that's really carried over into your life now. So thank you. Thanks for sharing. Grace, what about you? What's your favorite value of AZD and why?
Yeah, so our values are courage, graciousness, and peace. And we really talk about just like going out into the world and making a difference. And I think like in light of a lot of recent events, I'm really, really, really proud of how my chapter has handled it and spoken out and really taken a stance against a lot of things. And we really advocate for that on our social media pages. And we're very vocal about that. And that's made me just really proud to be a member of Alpha Zeta Delta, seeing how accepting we are and just like loving of all of our sisters, regardless of any differences. And that's just made me really confirm that I'm in the right place and that I really am proud of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a wonderful conversation with AZD's president the other day, talking about all of the internal work that you all are doing too, to really make your organization a more just and fair and equitable place, and a real sense of belonging for all of your members. So know that it's also seen and felt outside of the chapter too, and we really appreciate everything that you all are doing. Well, that wraps up all of our questions for today. Thank you again, both of you, for hopping on here and chatting with us. we have many more stories coming throughout the rest of this academic year. So for those of you who have been watching us out there, make sure you tune in. And yeah, so we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.